Hello, welcome to Politics here on France 24. Will the tragedy in Toulouse impact the presidential race, or will bread and butter issues prevail over terrorism, immigration, and crime? Will the incumbent, Nicolas Sarkozy, benefit from his presidential gravitas to tilt the balance and pull off an upset? Or will François Hollande, his socialist rival, hold on tight to his lead and win? To discuss the issue and the impact of the Toulouse shootings is Anne-Elisabeth Moutet, who's a columnist with the Daily Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph, I should say.
Actually, both these days.
Both these days, great. Denis de Montpion, who's a senior writer with the Nouvel Observateur, and Gaël Slimane, who is the deputy director of polling with the BVA Institute. So we'll begin actually with polls, because people have been wondering after those dramatic events, the killing of three children, a teacher, and the eventually tragic shootout with the murderer, Mohamed Merah, if people would vote or intend to vote differently. So one poll, one among many polls, came out and shows essentially that nothing has changed in terms of voting intentions. François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy are still very close in the first round, 27%, 28%, more or less according to the polls. And in the second round, François Hollande is ahead, slightly less than he was a few weeks ago, 54% to 46% to Nicolas Sarkozy. But there's another, I think, more interesting polls from BVA, and Gaël Slimane will talk about it, that came out this week about the top priorities of the French voters. And it's quite interesting because here also it seems nothing has changed.
Yes, it's very still. It's always the same in terms of priority for French people regarding this election. We've got on the first priority is purchasing power. Then you've got employment or unemployment. And at the bottom of the list, 8th, 9th positions, you see immigration and insecurity. In terms of evolution, what shows this poll is that nothing has changed between 10 days before the killings in Toulouse and nowadays. We have not even 1 point of more response about insecurity, for instance, and purchasing power is increasing of 3 points in this survey. So what it shows is that it's true that these tragical events were very preoccupating for the French people, that they were in front of their TV, very shocked by what happened. They also say in the survey that Nicolas Sarkozy was a very good president during these terrible days, but it changed nothing about their priorities. And as you say, it changed not a lot in terms of voting intentions, because we show that we see that Nicolas Sarkozy has increased of 2 points on the first round and in the second round, but it's still very, you've got a big distance between him and François Hollande, 8 points on the second round.
Just quickly before we open it to the other guests, is there maybe the issue of time, that maybe people need time to kind of register, if I may say, what happens to show this in the polls, or do you think this will not change?
No, I don't think so. I think we made 2 surveys, in fact. We made a first survey at the worst moment when Mohamed Merah was, we knew who he was, and the policemen were around him. And at this time, we asked the same list of priorities, and it was still the same. 1 week after, it is still the same. My opinion is that this affair will be the kind of what happened for Dominique Strauss-Kahn, for instance. It is to say something very important mediatically, that the medias are treating a lot, and that people are watching and are also shocked by what happened, but with not a real importance of in terms of votings.
Okay, Denis de Montpion, do you think this will have more impact than the figures seem to show?
I doubt it, in fact, because in what we saw in Toulouse, the shooting and killing of 7 people, it's quite different from what we usually call insecurity. Because remember, in 2007, security and insecurity was really the main topics of the campaign. But what happened then, it's that you had an old man living on his own, he was over 80, was, beaten almost to death by 3 rascals in a town called Orléans, near Paris. And that was much more touching people because, they could not identify really the type of delinquency. As for what happened in Toulouse, we all know, and French people realize that it's clearly, fanatical that decided to do a shooting like that. French Secret Service know perfectly well how many guys have been to Afghanistan or Pakistan to train to fight against France and the Occident, and therefore it's not the same type of delinquency. That's why I don't feel that it will really weigh on the campaign. Really.
Because if you had to speculate, as we all did, you could say that Nicolas Sarkozy would benefit from this because he was the father of the nation. At the time of grief, the operation went rather quickly, if not smoothly, and that maybe his rival, François Hollande, would be hurt. It seems people have appreciated their attitude, both of them, not only Sarkozy.
Several things. First of all, I think polls are a snapshot. Second, I think people take some time to make up their minds. And that we are seeing a trend, but it's not finished. Even 10 days, it's not enough. Third, I don't think the issue was so much in security. I think the issue was very much in this election. Why did people reject Sarkozy? They rejected Sarkozy because they felt that he was not dignified, that he did not represent the nation well, and in general that he didn't give France a good image. And here he has earned encomium from Libération, from The Guardian, from people who are not in his camp. And in general, he has shown himself to be dignified, efficient, and by and large, doing what the French expect their president to do. So I think it's not a question that people are going to question whether security is well or not well managed in the country. I think this is one of the underlying themes of the campaign. But it is much more a question of, at the end of the day, do I trust this guy or do I trust the other guy? And I think it will take a little time for the French to make up their minds. But at the end of the day, I think it will serve Nicolas Sarkozy.
You think it will serve him?
Yeah.
One person who has been trying to surf on the issue is the far-right leader, Marine Le Pen. She made a very clear link between immigration and terrorism. Let's take a listen to Marine Le Pen this week.
How many Mohamed Merahs are there arriving in France each day by planes and boats? How many Mohamed Merahs are there among the 300 illegal immigrants who arrive each day in Greece via Turkey, their first point of entry in the EU?
To which Nicolas Sarkozy responded, among others, that Mohamed Merah was actually born and raised in France. Gaël Slimane, could this help the National Front? Initially, when speculation was that it could have been a white supremacist or neo-Nazi, I think there was a lot of fear, I assume, among the National Front leaders. But now, could this help them? The fact that he was of Algerian descent, and there's been all this controversy over where he should be buried, his father saying that France had killed him, and so on and so forth.
Of course, it's good for Marine Le Pen. The truth is, last week when we did our latest voting intention, it was terrible for Marine Le Pen because she was really at the bottom at 13% instead of 16 or 17, which was her score for a long time. Because she was, it was impossible for her to be on the front with her themes. Insecurity, immigration. She was having this problem with signatures of the mayor to compete the election.
Sponsor her for the election,
of course,
which took a lot of time and energy.
And it took
which
time.
She built up. I mean, really, she was playing it for all it's worth. She's always been doing that, and I think she was playing the idea. I'm not in the establishment. They want to silence me. I think she was completely put upon that thing.
Yes, the National Front is used to do so, but this time it was true. As well as the last time it was true also for her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, which finished with 507 signatures or instead of 500. So it was very close, and it was impossible for her to put on the front her themes. This time, it's open. She's got an highway, if I can say so, on immigration and insecurity. And Nicolas Sarkozy will go on these thematics, but this time he will try to be more presidential. He will not shake, the population and be in transgression as he likes to be the time before. So it's a good situation for Marine Le Pen. That is true. Regarding what you said about Nicolas Sarkozy, I disagree on one point. It's not because he was not a good representative of France that he was so unpopular. It's because French people think he failed on economics issue. He promised work more to earn more. And people think that purchasing power didn't increase in France. So the main problem...
You think the French are completely unaware that there is an economic crisis on?
No, what I know for seeing it in the survey since a long time, it's that before the fail of Lehman Brothers, before the crisis, in April 2008, Nicolas Sarkozy was already unpopular. And when you ask people why, they say he promised that we will work more to earn more. And it's not true. He promised that unemployment was decreased in France. And it's not true. That's why Nicolas Sarkozy is so unpopular.
After 9 months. So when you say no, but I want to understand your poll.
Let me
You're
finish.
Saying that when you made a poll 9 months after he was elected, they already thought he had not obtained results.
Yes, because if you remember well, in January, in the beginning of 2008, in January, he was meeting the press, and when journalists asked him, and what will you do for purchasing power? He said, how do you say in English, les caisses sont vides.
Coffers are empty.
Yes, that's true. And he said in the same phrase, and Carla and I, it's very serious.
Carla Bruni, his
wife
to be at the time.
So what I want to say is very simple. The problem of Nicolas Sarkozy is that the candidate is impeached by the president, in fact.
Right.
So what is important for him is to stay strong on his qualities, because in the public opinion, and you are right on this point, people think he's very solid in terms of crisis. When you've got a crisis, you are more confident with Nicolas Sarkozy than with François Hollande. And that's the better point for Nicolas Sarkozy.
Denis de Montbriand, François Hollande has tried to more or less stay presidential during this Toulouse crisis, but his interest, and the polls would seem to support this, is to go back to the economic and social issues where he feels he has an advantage. How do you think he's managing all this?
Well, anyway, there's nothing much he could do. He was the first candidate, anyway, to decide to suspend the campaign when, the event in Toulouse happened. And what else could he do? He could hardly, come on TV or at a meeting and speak of economy and such, because people were so shocked. He took the right decision. Now, he waited a few days, and after all this, calmed down, and he decided that security or insecurity was not the only item of the campaign. And then he tried, little by little, to bring them back into it. But it's true that the way he does it, we can notice there's at least a great lack of enthusiasm, because he is not as energetic as Nicolas Sarkozy, and he reckons that maybe by, making no mistake to the end, he might have a chance, or a great chance, to win.
Do you share the assessment that he's trying to play defense, essentially?
Yeah, exactly. I think that if the best he's got to play is, I'm not going to make any mistakes until the end.
But he hasn't done so.
That is, actually, I might be wrong, but I had the feeling that he was the one who, shortly before Sarkozy, said that he would put his campaign on hold, and then Sarkozy said that he would put his campaign on hold. And actually, that was a big mistake. I don't think he could do anything else, but I still think it was a mistake, because putting his campaign on hold meant that he was back in the sidelines, whereas Sarkozy putting his campaign on hold meant that he became the president. So structurally,
anyway, it was the job of Nicolas Sarkozy to deal with this crisis.
It was. I mean, it was. I'm not saying, he played very well the cards he had. In terms of Hollande, I think he basically had what the French call his state of grace. He had his best time in the past 2-3 months, in which he was seen as the non-Sarkozy, and therefore people liked him because he was the non-Sarkozy. But now they're going to start questioning him more, and we're getting to the sort of difficult moment in which we have seen, and you mentioned that the curves are sort of crossing now, and that Sarkozy was going up and Hollande was slightly going down, even though Hollande is clearly in the lead. What's interesting is this it's a bit closer, but it almost parallels what happened with Ségolène Royal in 2007, where she was clearly in the lead for a very long time.
But not as late in the game.
Not as late in the game, but I think the game has been frozen by Toulouse for a bit.
But it's
for
quickly, there's just
Ségolène
less than 1 month left.
Ségolène Royal was at 51% against 49% for Nicolas Sarkozy in November and December of 2006. And then in January, Sarkozy was first, and in early February, it was at 55 against 45 for Royal. So there is, you can't compare. It's very difficult. Perhaps Sarkozy will manage it, but it's very difficult to be behind.
He still has a chance to overtake François Hollande,
according to you? It would be it would be a huge surprise.
It does indeed, yeah. I mean, he's got 1 month to run still, and nobody knows what may happen and change the course of the campaign, obviously. And besides, Hollande might very well be, make a mistake, and sometimes, who knows. And people get really tired nowadays. That's why Mélenchon, from the far left, is going up in the survey, because Hollande doesn't do much, as a matter of fact.
Okay, we have to end it here. I'm sorry. We'll have probably other occasions to discuss this campaign. No one knows what will happen, and we'll have to wait 1 more month for round 1 of the presidential election. Thank you for watching this edition of Politics here on France 24.